Commercial recovery specialists play a vital role at many motorsport events. But recovering a racing car on a circuit can present challenges they may not have experienced at the roadside. So let's look at some key things to bear in mind. Safety remains top priority, but there's also a need to work rapidly to keep the meeting running as close to the timetable as possible without causing any further damage to the vehicle. Don't go onto the circuit until you are told by race control that it's safe to do so. And always travel in the direction of racing, unless you are given permission to go wrong direction, or in other words, the opposite direction to the racing. Always watch out for other vehicles, recovery vehicles, course cars, competitors who are driving back to the pits after being recovered, and in the worst case, competitors who have missed the checkered flag. Always allow them to pass before deviating from your current direction. If there are a number of vehicles to recover, you may have to bring several back on the same breakdown, and it will not always be possible to allocate the vehicle with the most appropriate equipment to a particular job. If your vehicle is not suitable for the type of recovery involved, tell race control by radio as soon as possible. Make sure the electrical system on the vehicle you are recovering has been isolated before you start work. Ask the driver or marshals to isolate it if you're unsure how to do it yourself. If the vehicle you're recovering has been on fire, ensure you have adequate fire cover and that a circuit fire tender follows you back to the pits. Check the working area before you start the recovery. Check the surface and remove any obstructions or anything that's likely to fall off the vehicle during loading or unloading. Never allow anyone other than yourself or your assistant to operate equipment on your vehicle, even if you know they've been trained to do so. Many competing vehicles will be significantly different from those a recovery operator meets on the road. They may be more fragile. Towing eyes are often designed only for light towing on the flat and may be inadequate for winching out of a gravel trap. Suspension components such as wishbones may also be weaker than they appear and unsuitable for towing. Wings may be delicate and bodywork may be a hazard. Carbon fiber, for example, may have sharp edges when broken. Competing vehicles will have lower ride heights than road cars, as well as spoilers, splitters and even wings, which make them difficult to winch onto a tilt and slide body or position on a spectacle lift. Avoid damage by using wooden chocks and removing nose cones and front bodywork if necessary. Winching the vehicle onto a tilting body backwards can also reduce the risk of bodywork fouling as it goes up the ramp. Because of the ride height and, in some cases, wings, some recovery operators prefer always to use a full lift and a 4-point lifting strap to move single-seaters. Using 2 or more attachment points when doing a full lift also means that people can stand well back while the vehicle is lifted and will only need to touch the vehicle if it needs to be swung around to fit on the back of a recovery truck. If in doubt, and particularly when dealing with historic or vintage cars and single-seaters you haven't recovered before, ask the driver what are the best points to attach a strop for towing or lifting. Competing cars may be stronger than road cars in some areas. Roll cages and other strengthening members not only provide additional support and stiffness and protection for the driver, but can also be suitable towing or lifting points. However, you should be careful when lifting heavy saloons, as a roll cage may not be strong enough to prevent the roof creasing if it's lifted using a wide strop passed through the passenger compartment and attached to the spreader bar. This is particularly important with touring cars and the like, which can be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. Preferably use 2 strops through the front and rear doors, attached to the spreader bar. Care must be taken to adjust their length to ensure that the lift is level. The bodywork on competing cars is often held in place by special clips or attachments, which allows it to be removed quickly and easily should you need to do so to get to suitable towing or lifting points. Marshals may also be able to provide advice based on their past experience and knowledge of the damage the vehicle sustained. On some occasions, a circuit, competing teams or event organisers may provide equipment. With some top-level formulae, there may be special strops, tailor-made for lifting certain cars or special attachment points on the vehicles. You must make sure that you understand how additional equipment is to be used. Be satisfied that it's suitable, ensure that it's been tested to appropriate standards, and only use it for the type of car it was designed for. Vehicles should be kept as close to horizontal as possible when they're being lifted. If the vehicle is being lifted by its roll bar, an additional strap attached to the appropriate end of the car and adjusted to length is a good way of keeping the car horizontal. If the vehicle is reasonably balanced and needs only minor adjustments to keep it level, this can be done manually. Wherever possible, avoid the need for marshals to keep the vehicle level by hand, and never ever let anyone sit on or in a vehicle you are lifting. Unlike on the roadside, additional assistance is available in the form of marshal power. However, they are not trained recovery operators. You remain responsible for the recovery and their safety. There may be times when recovery operators are asked to help rescue crew by using their equipment to help stabilize a vehicle while a trap driver is freed. When that happens, it's vital that the recovery operator works closely with the rescue crew chief and medical staff and does not do anything without their full knowledge and agreement. There may also be times when recovery operators are asked to help turn a vehicle that has rolled back onto its wheels. This should be done in a controlled manner, whether by hand or using equipment on the recovery vehicle, following similar principles to those illustrated in the Motorsports Safety Fund's companion video on first aid. When towing vehicles, make sure that whoever is in the cockpit understands that they must keep enough pressure on the brake pedal to keep the tow rope or strop taut, but not so much pressure that there's a danger of breaking it, and that they should not make any sharp movements of the steering wheel. If the clerk has decided that a car should come back on the back of a recovery truck for reasons of safety, efficiency or speed, follow those instructions and don't be persuaded to allow the vehicle to be driven or towed back. It's also up to the clerk of the course to decide where vehicles that have been recovered should be taken, not the driver, the team or the marshals. On some occasions it may be necessary to take the vehicle to scrutineering or Parc Fermé and for the team to pick it up from there. And last but not least, as a recovery operator, never attempt anything which is beyond your training or the capability of your vehicle.